2311 takes a L in court. Why it's not really that big of a deal. And Ram Trucks gets leaked, so looks like it's official. Let's talk about it. Coming up next. What's going on, everybody? Hope you're doing good today. All right, first things first, let's get into that legal drama that is 2311 and Front Row Motorsports versus NASCAR. Today, the injunction that would let 2311 and Front Row Motorsports operate as a chartered team while the court case, the legal proceedings went on, was overturned. Earlier this year, Judge Kenneth Bell decided that there was provisions in there that were anti-competitive, whatever. He decided to let those teams run as charter teams while the legal proceedings went on. NASCAR appealed this, and today that appeal was ruled in favor of NASCAR to overturn that previous injunction that was going on. So where do we go from here? As of right now, 2311 and Front Row Motorsports will have to operate as a non-chartered team. That means they must qualify for all the races. They're not locked in to the races. Now, this probably won't be a big deal unless more than 40 cars show up at a racetrack. So that shouldn't really play too much into things. They're pretty much going to be locked in at least the vast majority of the races going forward. If they qualify for the championship, they will be locked into the 10 races for the championship, so nothing will be affected there. The only thing that really will be affected is the money that they're paid out at the end of the season because they are no longer part of that charter agreement. But before we get too far down that rabbit hole, they do still have the opportunity to appeal this. They have a couple of weeks where they can appeal this, and then that will be ruled on, I guess, by a jury. I don't know. I'm not a legal expert, but I know that they can appeal it to the same group of judges and make a different case in front of a jury or whatever like that. I think that's how it works. Not 100% sure, but either way, it can be appealed. I do know that. Whether they appeal it or not, that remains to be seen. So kinda, this is where it's at right now, but for the sake of argument, if they don't appeal it and this is the way it is, at the end of the day, it's not that big of a deal anyway because they have allotted to run this season anyway. Michael Jordan can withstand that blow financially. I'm pretty sure Bob Jenkins can withstand that blow financially, and things will operate for at least this season, and the actual trial starts in December. So at least for this season, things would operate. They've got that operating revenue and resources going forward. Now, what could happen after that, we'll get into in just a minute. But I say it's not really a big deal because if you think about it, this is just a preliminary injunction. This has nothing to do with the actual trial itself, right? So a lot of people are acting like this is a big, huge deal. This is a big win for NASCAR. It is a win for NASCAR. I don't know how big of a win it is because it really, at the end of the day, doesn't affect the trial, the nuts and bolts of what 2311 and Front Row Motorsports are bringing this lawsuit against NASCAR for. This is just sort of preliminary motions, if you will. NASCAR has won a preliminary motion. This really has no bearing on the actual case that will start, if it starts, in December, because like I've said all along when this thing began, I still think that they're going to reach a settlement out of court because 2311 probably doesn't want their financials out there, Front Row Motorsports probably doesn't want their financials out there, and we know for certain that NASCAR doesn't want their financials out there, which would happen in discovery. So I'm thinking that they still are going to get this thing settled out of court if I'm a betting person, which I am. But the loss of the charters, a lot of people do want to talk about that, so they do lose the charter agreement. Now, NASCAR will probably just hold on to those charters. Like, there's nothing they're going to be able to do with them. And even if, let's just say you run the whole case out and 2311 loses the case and everything, would 2311 lose those charters? Would they be SOL? Would they be out of money? I think if you run it on down the line, they would still have to be compensated some kind of way, some kind of how for the charters. It would create all kinds of chaos in silly season, but that's all theoretical. We're not going to worry about that until it actually happens because, like I said, there's still an appeal that can be attempted and there's still a whole trial that has to go on before we can get to all that. So I think for right now, the charters are just sort of going to be in limbo for right now because even if you take them away, I do think that they would have to be compensated in some way, shape, or form. The closest thing I can really think of is when the LA Clippers owner or whatever made those crazy statements or whatever and got his team taken away from him. He still had to sell the team. You can't just outright take something that somebody has already bought. So NASCAR I don't think they can just totally snatch them away from them without giving them the proper market value for what those charters would go for. So that's a whole nother legal situation that would have to happen over there. But like I said, we're not even to that point yet. But a lot of people were like, what's going to happen with the charters? NASCAR is probably just going to hold them. They're probably just be in limbo until all this gets sorted out finally. But like I said, not a legal expert, so that's just my opinion, my thoughts on the whole matter. But enough of my thoughts on the matter. Here is 2311's attorney. This is from Bob Pockris. We are disappointed by today's ruling by the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals, and we are reviewing the decision to determine our next steps. This ruling is based on a very narrow consideration of whether a release of claims in the charter agreements is anti-competitive and does not impact our chances of winning at trial scheduled for December 1st. We remain confident in our case and committed to racing for the entirety of this season as we continue our fight to create a fair and just economic system for stock car racing that is free of anti-competitive, monopolistic conduct. And so there you go. He pretty much saying what I was thinking there. This doesn't really affect the case. This is just, a pretrial motion that, they didn't win the injunction. NASCAR won the right to treat them as a non-charter team. The can't have your cake and eat it too comment from the 3-judge panel, of course, made famous. So NASCAR wins this particular battle in the war, but the war still has a lot of legs to it. So like I said, it's a big story, I guess, but at the end of the day, not really a big deal if you really think about it. What is a big deal was what was released at least early this morning. NASCAR Rumor Nostalgia is where I saw it first. Apparently there was a YouTube video up, but this screenshot was grabbed from that YouTube video before it was taken down. And what you see right there is Dodge's new truck that they will be running in the Truck Series, allegedly. There you go. And here is a wider view of it where you see that they're lining it up to be presented at some point. Dodge has already had some news come out this week that the Hemi is not dead. That is probably going to be part of that release whenever they have it. They've got one scheduled for sometime this week, if I'm not mistaken. So probably all of that will happen. They will probably announce the new engine is going in that particular Dodge truck you see sitting right there in the foreground. And then obviously they're going to announce that that truck also will race in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, which begs the question, which team and which drivers will it be? Obviously, Cletus McFarland has been linked to it through documents. I think Jordan Bianchi was on top of that. If not, I know that story was out there. Somebody attached their name to it that they saw those documents. Maybe it was Adam Stern. Not 100% sure. Can't remember. But either way, I know Cletus McFarland's name has been linked to it. And everybody unanimously thinks that Thor Sport is going to be the team that runs the Dodge. But we haven't heard any confirmation or any word from it. So it will be really interesting to see which teams take that leap to be the Dodge team, or teams, I should say, to be the Dodge team, and who that driver will be. As of yet, I haven't seen anything super concrete other than Reddit posts and speculation on the internet, which is, it is what it is. But that being said, super cool that we basically officially know now that Ram will be back in the Craftsman Truck Series. So a lot of the Ram Dodge fans, Mopar, the Mopar or No Car gang, they're super stoked. They finally have something in NASCAR that they can pull for and root for again. So that will be a good deal for them. And if you're a Ford, Chevrolet, or Toyota person, there you go. You got somebody now, another team that you can root against. 4 manufacturers, much better than 3. And finally, Connor Zilisch has added 2 more races to his Cup Series schedule for this season, and it has made the hot seat even hotter over there. Of course, at Trackhouse, which driver will go? That is the big debate. Will it be SVG? Will it be Daniel Suarez, who I feel like his entire career has been on the hot seat? We saw Jordan Bianchi attach his name, saying that there is serious consideration given to whether or not SVG will be the driver that they go one and done with, or will it be Daniel Suarez, who a lot of people before the season even started was already saying that Daniel Suarez will be out because these extra starts lead people to believe that Trackhouse is indeed going to go with Connor Zilisch next season after one rookie season in the Xfinity Series. Are they rushing him up? Is this another Joey Logano situation? Are they going to bring him up too soon? That remains to be seen. And it also just remains to be seen which driver they will actually replace him with. It's going to be super interesting no matter what. My money is on, if they bring him up, it will probably be Daniel Suarez out at Trackhouse, but that's just my thought process on it. I think SVG gives you a better chance to win at road courses and probably brings more sponsorship money in because he has those consistent, stable sponsorships in WeatherTech and Red Bull, whereas Daniel Suarez has plenty of sponsorship, but it seems more pieced together than SVG's does. And also another thing to consider, we do know that NASCAR is considering changing the points format for next season. If they get rid of the win and you're in, does that affect Shane Van Gisbergen? Because, you know, he's a real threat to win at every road course. Does that affect his status at Trackhouse? So all kinds of factors, all kinds of questions today with these stories, but not a whole lot of answers. But yeah, that's going to do it for me. That's all I got for you on this one. Thanks for hanging out this long. And until the next one, thanks for your time. Peace.